reviving Gunnesadage Radio on RKR 101.7 FM. In partnership with the Pines Reporter from the Eastern Door, we're building a community media hub to strengthen Indigenous storytelling, reporting here in Gunnesadage. So today I'm joined by Pines Reporter journalist Hadassah Allen Carr. How you doing, Hadassah?
Doing pretty good. Great to be here again.
Awesome. So let's kick right into this because we got a lot to talk about today. So first off, reflections of July 11th. July 11th passed, and of course, you know, it's a day that means so much to the community here. 36 years since the siege of Gunnesadage. And Gunnesadage Ronu Myrna Gabriel was only 16 at the time. So what was her story that she had got to share with you?
Well, Myrna was so gracious to share some of her memories from that time. And she remembers a lot of what happened here in Gunnesadage in the summer of 1990. She was 15 years old at the time, and she turned 16 that summer. And she remembers how the day before the raid on July 11th, Myrna was at the barricades. And she actually said that the atmosphere was really happy and that there was actually 2 birthday parties that night. There was 2 people celebrating a birthday. There were cakes, there was a barbecue, and she remembers sitting around the campfire with her friends, and they were just joking and having a good time. The celebrations went so late that many people just stayed there, and they slept in the barricades in the pines. And she remembers the moment where she woke up to screaming. Her friends were yelling at her to get up, someone help Myrna, and she was in a daze. She was blurry. It was around 5 a.m. when the raid started, and there was a tear gas canister that had ignited right next to Myrna. And she said that because her friends screamed, because they woke her up at that moment, she was able to react in time, that the tear gas didn't affect her. As everyone knows, the tear gas canister was thrown by the Sûreté de Québec, and she shared something that I thought was really powerful. It's in the story, and I'll read it here. She said, "I remember me thinking to myself, somebody has to call the police because we need help. We're in danger." But it's like, no, that is the police who's going to help us.
Yeah, that is pretty powerful story, I gotta say. Also, Ellen Gabriel was a huge factor here for Gunnesadage going into the siege. You know, activists and everything that she's done over the years. So, what were her thoughts on the events that took place that summer?
Well, standing up against the Shades of Gunnesadage for Ellen Gabriel was about protecting the land. It was about protecting the land for the community. The plans that Oka had to expand the golf course into the pines, into that part that included the cemetery that has many of the community members, grandparents there. For her, it was really about standing up for the families that are here now and for the ancestors that laid to rest there. And of course, the territory that she says belongs to Gunnesadage. On July 11th, Ellen went with other women to face the police, and she said the women are the title holders of the land, and she said that they saw it as their obligation to stand at the front and defend the land for the community.
We also had Gordy Oak, and he was there as well, of course, in that summer, and he shared an incredible story with you as well. So what part did he play for the community?
Well, Gordon was organizer of the food shelter at that time, and he really oversaw the food deliveries into Gunnesadage, especially because it was very difficult when the military surrounded the community. It was difficult to get food in and out. There were even food deliveries by boat, many of whom, were helped by the community in Kahnawake to do. And he remembers the mental strain it was to deal with the constant threats. What I really got from a lot of the conversations was the unknown. How long is this going to last? Nobody knows. When is something going to happen? When the police going to come in? Is the military going to come in? Nobody knows. And it was important to him to be there and to play his part until the end. And I guess I really want to take time to also thank all the community members who took the time, the energy to speak with me about July 11th. I'm really grateful for the community's openness, and I think it's really important to take the space to commemorate July 11th for the great resistance and show of strength it was and is for the community.
No, well, thank you for doing this. It's one of those things that left a deep wound, but I mean, I would say at this point it's kind of left a scar as well in the community, kind of from a wound to a scar. And I think a lot of people still have some trauma from those days. And we won't go too much into that, but I think a lot of people did some pretty amazing things, kind of heroic things that they were doing during 1990. I mean, right? You got Gordy running the food bank, Myrna, waking up to that. And I mean, Ellen just standing at the front lines. I think it's all pretty important to our history here as a community. So thank you for doing that. So we'll move on to number 2 now for the day. So funds to combat crime announced. Federal Public Safety Minister Gary Anna-Dasan-Gary announced that $2 million will be committed to Indigenous communities across Quebec to combat organized crime. So what does this mean for Kanesatake?
So for now, there is no word whether any of the money that has been slated towards this project will be going directly to Kanesatake. But the Mohawk Council of Kanesatake caretaker council member, Brant Etienne, said that any effort to combat organized crime in any Indigenous community in Quebec will also help Kanesatake. He said that these groups, organized crime groups, he learned are really connected to one another. And so issues that are happening in Kanesatake are happening in other communities as well. And a lot of those other organized crime groups are entrenched there too. So he hopes to see a strengthening of the security all around in Indigenous communities, and hopefully that'll have, also a good effect on the security here.
And this, of course, was talked about at this week's General Assembly of First Nations that took place in Ottawa. What were some of the things that were discussed at the Assembly?
Well, some of the things that were discussed at the Assembly was security, and this announcement came out. And actually, I have a plan to write more about the Assembly next week, so stay tuned.
All right. So, and we also have Public Safety Canada, Indigenous Services Canada responded to the Pines Reporter in an email. What did they have to say?
So that's because last week, Quebec Minister Ian Lafreniere, he shared that he got the federal government to agree to fund the KPS for a few more months. The KPS is, of course, the Kanesatake Perimeter Security Team here. And I reached out to Public Safety, to Indigenous Services Canada, and Public Safety Canada said that any new funding would be communicated to the Band Council. And Indigenous Services Canada said that the Kanesatake Perimeter Security Team can use any remaining funds for the next fiscal year. Just as a reminder, they funded the KPS for about 5 years. So we'll really have to see what exactly the Quebec minister meant, and if there are any new announcements, or if the rollover of funding was the announcement. I'm not completely sure, and so hopefully I'll be able to enlighten myself and the community next week.
Yeah, so I just put this in here too because I thought it was important to mention, and kind of got news on this week, that up to 8 Indigenous officers are going to be joining SQ investigative teams, while an SQ officer is also being assigned to Akwesasne, which is one of our sister communities. So that's all part of this whole $2 million funding as well. So thought I would just throw that one in there. And now we can move on to number 3 of the day, drone scans for flood prevention project. So Rati Hunts Nunstats Kanesatake Environment was running aerial scans with a drone. What was the project and reasoning behind the scans?
So actually, for the last few years, the Environment Department has been leading a project with the expectation of preventing floods or damages from floods in Kanesatake. And so part of the history of that project is there in the story. But why the drone happened last week, really the drone scans, was because the department has commissioned an engineering company to make plans for what's called a natural dike. It's also called an embankment or a barrier, and that barrier is meant to keep the community from flooding. The drone scans will give this engineering company an accurate topographic scan of the land, and that'll allow them to make the plans for what this barrier could be, what it could look like, where it would be in the community. And so hopefully this will come out next year.
Okay. And unfortunately we had an incident, right, that took place. So one of the drones got destroyed. Do you have any information on this, or?
So, Colin Nicholas, project coordinator at the Environment Department, was accompanying the drone operators last week. And these drone operators, he went with them, they were scanning the waterfront and waterfront properties in places where the flooding happens here in the community. And so they had actually scanned everything. They were done. Okay, the drone lands and they were going to get going. And unfortunately, there was a community member that confronted the team. Colin Nicholas was actually there with the drone operators just in case such a situation would happen. And he said that he did try to explain the project, he tried to de escalate the situation. It did not work. And unfortunately, this person destroyed part of the drone. Side note, the drone costs more than $100,000, Colin said. It's very, very expensive. Luckily, it wasn't completely destroyed, but parts of it were destroyed. The company will file a damages claim, but it's unknown if they'll ask for formal charges on the damages.
And going back to the the story itself, here what are some of the plans to alleviate the flood damage?
So the plan is to make this natural barrier, like we said before. And this means to make a mound with specific plants planted on the mound. And the plants will have like these deep roots. And so that way they'll be able to hold this kind of mound together, but also hold it so well that it'll hold back the water that comes in from flooding. So for two reasons why the community really wants this. One, it's aesthetically pleasing. There were other ideas that were floated around, like making a concrete barrier and things like that. The community doesn't want something that looks like a prison around the homes. And so this was a much better idea for many community members. They supported this. And the other one was that it'll also help the ecosystem around here. It'll respect the wildlife. It'll respect, the frogs, habitats that live here as well, and turtles and many other animals that live along the shoreline. And so how it'll look like, the details, like we said, is going to be in the study that'll hopefully come out next year. And we'll see.
Yeah, well, the flooding, hopefully something can be done because lots of damage to people's houses and properties. So hopefully something will be done so people don't have to keep constantly repairing their houses or fixing up their land, which could cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to number 4. Does Kanesatake need a new school? So there's a steering committee that's being put together for a feasibility study. Tell me about this study and what it actually means.
Well, the study really looked at what are Kanesatake's educational goals and what is the school building that would actually meet those goals. So this steering committee, it's going to be made up of 4 community members. So it'll be 2 parents of children at the schools, a youth and an elder. And then school staff is going to participate too, and they're going to discuss amongst themselves what are the educational goals, what do we want to see more of, what's important to us in the curriculum. And they're going to also seek community advice. So there'll be meetings where the community members can share their perspective. Also, the community members can weigh in. They've also been invited to submit to be part of the steering committee, even if they don't fit the 4 people that they're looking for, just to get people, I guess, more. There's also always nice to have more advice. And once we see, this study will give a better look at whether Kanesatake should invest in the present school buildings and adapt the school to the growing population, or whether potentially a new school is the way to go.
I didn't actually ask this one here, but I know they had pushed it back because they were still looking for a steering committee. Did they potentially get all their members yet, or?
I'm actually not sure. I know that they opened it up for, they were still looking for, I believe it was a youth and an elder. But again, I know that the deadline has been extended for a few more weeks. So there's still time for people to get a word in.
Okay. So according to Watson Yosta Nelson, and that they want to get there, Principal Melissa McGregor, what are some of the reasons that this study is being done?
Well, to start, the schools are older and they were made for less students. So one of the issues is the small classroom sizes. And, as the school has grown over time, there was a study made that projected that the high school population would continue to decrease a lot over time. It has only grown and practically doubled in size since 2019. And to adapt to that, it has been a little bit hard for the schools. With more students comes more needs as well. And so on top of that as well, the school building may have to be renovated if they need to make updates or they want to make changes to the school. For example, Melissa McGregor, she shared that, who is the elementary school principal, that they wanted to get new smart boards. Smart boards are like a digital whiteboard. And it turns out the walls don't have the support, they cannot support the weight of these new smart boards. They have to be reinforced if they want them installed. So they paid to have one wall reinforced, but it's expensive to do every room. So these are the kinds of issues that they're running into. Do they make these updates? Do they invest this money to fix the old building? Or is potentially a new build the way to go?
Yeah, we don't want the wall falling down on top of a teacher. That would be horrible.
That would be horrible, yeah.
When will the steering committee start meeting, and will we be able to hear about the results of the study?
So the steering committee will start officially in September, and Watson Yosta Nelson, the education director, she also mentioned that there will be a community meeting in September as well to be able to get the community together to explain more about this study and what they're going to be looking at and how others can weigh in too. And the results are expected to come out sometime next year.
All right. Thank you for that. We're going to move on now to summer interns at work. We got one sitting right behind you, actually. So I don't know if you're picking him up on camera, but he's there. He is there. So we get to talk about one of our own here, like I was just saying, Lucas Arana, who is interning this summer here at RKR under the Summer Employment Program administered by Kanesatake Employment Training Center. What did Lucas have to say about his experience so far?
Well, he shared that working with the sales representative here at RKR, Michelle Daoust, has really helped him strengthen his people skills. He said it was hard to go up to people and make those sales, like those cold pitches, and which is so valid. Honestly, it really is scary. And so doing that with her and really being led and shown, how to approach those conversations and what routes to take is really helping him make him more comfortable to take that initiative, to be more outgoing. He also said that he's learning to make more engaging social media content and that he's doing some accounting work, which, side note, he wants to be an accountant someday.
There you go. So I'll just say that he's doing a great job here so far. And we have Michelle also here in the studio who's pretty much kind of keeping an eye on him. And she's been doing pretty good with him. And he's doing really good as well. So a shout out to you, Mr. Lucas in the back, if you can hear us.
He's vibing out to music.
Don't deter him from working hard.
So also president of Mohawk Multimedia, Sylvain Gaspé, shared some of his thoughts. What did he have to say?
Well, Sid said it's so helpful to have a summer student. You know what? I'm going to back up a bit because Michelle Lamouche, I interviewed her as well. And she mentioned that it can be hard sometimes for businesses to take on a summer student. Like, she recognizes that the business takes on a lot of responsibilities to take on the student, to train them and all that. And that she's very grateful for the businesses that have taken a student and for that effort. But for Sid, he said it was a no-brainer. He sees it as not only helpful for the organization, but also it's something that will help the community. It's mutually beneficial. And so he actually told me that it's so important for employers to open the doors to summer students. It's an opportunity for youth and in the community to do something. And I'm really proud of Lucas, who just jumped in and said, let me give this a try.
Yeah, once again, good on you, Lucas. So if a student wants any future opportunities, how can they reach out to KETS?
Well, they can look up the Kanesatake Employment and Training Service Center. Michelle Lamouche is the manager there, and they can get in contact by email. Students interested in the program can contact KETS to find a placement, either in the community or in another organization, because Michelle actually said that students may even connect with a workplace and organize, say that they would like to work there and have a summer internship program there, and KETS can help find the funding for them to work where they want to go. So that's pretty exciting.
All right, so thank you for that one. We're going to move on to the next one, but this one we're just going to kind of do a quick shout out. This one is Warriors take home top spots at the provincials, and Ganasatagi Warriors U9 and U13 teams are now provincial champions. So executive director of the Ganasatagi Health Center, Coach Deya Winizarata, Jeremy Tomlinson, got to speak with you. He shared his thoughts on it. Also, Coach Selena Bova shared some of her thoughts, and obviously they're both proud coaches. I mean, of course they should be. They worked extremely hard, and there's other coaches as well. I believe there's Brandon Etienne, Randy Etienne, William Garreau, Sean Boudrias. I mean, there's so many of them that are doing so much. Jonathan Nelson as well. And if I miss anyone, I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of coaches out there, but you guys are all doing really amazing jobs out there, and we just wanted to give you guys a shout out. And you can pick up the Pines Reporter this week because there is an article about you in there, and an article about the kids, and the kids are also working hard, and they're amazing. So I gotta say, it was great to call their games, because me and Michelle were actually and Michelle first time got to call a game, which was awesome. And it was fun to be there and just see these kids play, because I saw their improvement from last year. Because last year they were great, but this year was like, wow, you can see massive improvements in them. So shout out to you guys and congratulations on your provincial championships. So we got number 7 today. You wrote a lot of articles. You're busy.
Busy.
You're like a Terminator journalist here. So we got local lifts 10 gym memberships. So this story has to do with someone that I know very well, my uncle Raymond Millette. So what exactly did my uncle do?
Well, he very generously donated $7,000 to the Ganasatagi Community Fitness Center. And he did so because he wanted to buy memberships for 10 community members. And with these memberships, they get a 12-month gym membership and a one-on-one training session with a fitness coach. And it was of course, the gym is super grateful, and I'm sure 10 people are very excited to get started.
Oh, for sure. And you were talking with the manager of Ganasatagi Community Fitness, Samantha Pepin. What were some of the thoughts that she had shared on the importance of fitness, but also the generous donation that was made?
Well, she said that there are a lot of families in the communities that have a history of diabetes and heart disease. These are sometimes preventable diseases. And when you have a healthy lifestyle, you can deter these bad, things from happening. And she said that it's important to encourage people to have a healthy lifestyle, to have a fitness lifestyle. And so she really wants to make a space where people can do that, and to make a community where they build those good habits together. She called your uncle an angel. She was super grateful. And she said that, within the fitness industry, she really sees him as someone who wants to see others see exercise as important and necessary. So he's just trying to encourage that within the community and those good habits in the community.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. Pretty cool that you were doing that. You actually messaged me this week and you're like, hey, I talked to your uncle. I'm like, what for?
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. So when are these applications going to be chosen for the when will the applicants be chosen for the memberships?
So they'll be selecting applicants after July 24th. They said that a lot of people have messaged them, especially youth who are very, very interested in working out, and they'll go from there.
All right, so that's pretty awesome, and I think that's about it. But before we wrap up, I always got to ask you, is there anything that you'd like to add, maybe that we didn't touch on, or some behind-the-scenes stuff maybe that we didn't get to touch on? Because I know you tell me every week that there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make your stories, certain things that you can't put in just due to word count, and maybe some extra information that might be important, something we didn't touch on.
Oh my goodness, putting me in the hot seat. I know that, something that we didn't get to touch on here in the interview was a lot of the warriors, and I think that's something that touched me from a lot of my interviews was the sense of belonging and the sense of identity that the warriors is really bringing even to the community. And I had interviews with some people who the story was about something completely different, but they just mentioned the warriors game, that someone in their family was in the warriors, you know, one of the children of the family was in the warriors at some capacity, and you know, they were just so proud to be there, and you know, that these kids are forming relationships with one another, but the families may not speak to one another, you know, and it's kind of breaking those generational differences and bringing the community together into something that they can all feel proud about. And that just struck me in a lot of my interviews. And so it's wonderful to see, you know, the Warriors t-shirts, the hoodies, you know, people wearing and really sporting something that's bringing a lot of joy and a lot of good news to the community here.
It's breaking down the walls. Instead of burning bridges, it's building bridges, which is always great. So thanks, Hadassah. We appreciate you doing this every week. And I just got to say before we go off that I won't be here for like a month.
I know we will miss you. I don't know what we're going to do, Sterling.
So, but Fern's coming back next week.
Yes.
So unfortunately, I won't be back to see Fern when she comes back. So Fern, if for some reason you're listening or watching, sorry, man, missed you. I will see you in 4 weeks or something like that. But Miss K, Karen's going to be joining you next week. So you're going to have her here doing the same thing that I'm doing. And she's going to be leading this off and, you know, wishing you all the best of luck. I'll be listening and probably watching you guys on YouTube too, just to see how things go. And I'll be checking in. I'm pretty sure you'll all do amazing. You always do good. See you and Fern, and I know Karen will bring the heat, so to speak. So thank you once again, and get this week's copy of The Eastern Door at Bayside Convenience, Mohawk Gas Bar, and Little Tree, or subscribe online at theeasterndoor.com. And yeah, that was a conversation with the Pines Reporter journalist Hadassah Allen-Carr and myself, your host, Sterling Millette. It's all part of a collaboration here with the Eastern Door and Reviving Gunnesadage Radio. We're trying to grow Indigenous media and community reporting right here in the Gunnesadage. So for more local stories and updates, stay tuned here on RKR 101.7 FM, and also get yourself a copy of the Eastern Door.